welcome to the Evogen podcast. I'm Eddie, and I'm here with Maisie and Colby for the fifth episode. And Colby has a special announcement to tell us.
Tell
Yes,
us.
sir. Okay, yeah, we're good. All right, this is James. This is my buddy here, and we're gonna see a lot more of him coming up here. So he's gonna be here in EvoGen. We have something special inside of EvoGen for our members that's called Wellth. That's Wellth, as in your wellness, but also like as in your fitness and your nutrition, but also your financial wellness, because both are super important. And the better that those things are aligned, the better and further you can go in your life.
Yeah, well, don't spell check that, but yes, I'm James. I'm excited to be here and handle all the wealth.
All right. Well, today we're just talking kind of along the lines of the wellness, the everything topic, and we're talking about you don't need motivation, you need discipline. I feel like that kind of falls in with what we were talking about last week as well with our daily habits and our consistency and things like that. You need a lot of discipline to be able to stay committed and not take a bunch of times off or turn it into turn one off day into two, things like that. And so I feel like this is a great topic to just kind of dive right into. The first bullet point that I have is like why motivation fades and discipline lasts.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to start off with that. So, with motivation, I think it's more of a spark. I think discipline is more of the candle. So, yeah, I mean, anyone can have motivation to go do something, but it's really the discipline that creates the slow burn and really finishes the candle, right? At the end of the day. That's kind of how I like to view discipline. I think it's a very important factor to someone's success or anyone's success. So, that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I like that. That reminds me of a somewhat morbid quote, but it's good. The quote is, if you look at Mount Everest, there's a lot of dead bodies on Everest, and every one of those dead bodies was once a highly motivated individual. And so it's like motivation is not what got them to the top. It was what started their journey, but they weren't disciplined enough to finish. Granted, I'm sure there were some people that had crazy circumstances, but the discipline is like the structure that gets you to the goal that you want. And I like that. Like motivation is kind of just a spark, but discipline is what will take you up the ladder.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Going back to like one of our previous episodes when I was again talking about Dr. Benjamin Hardy and his book Willpower Doesn't Work. Motivation and willpower kind of both go hand in hand. Um, and so, but what he says, like willpower is essentially like, sure, it can get you started on the right track, but it's not like James said and mentioned, it's not going to keep you going. What does is shaping your environment, which is your discipline. It's doing those daily actions that keep you on the right track rather than just relying on the motivation that you have because that motivation can only get you so far.
It's like kind of back to what Eddie was saying as well. Like motivation is that spark. It's that thing that initially drives you. But discipline is like your vehicle to actually get there. And another thing that I was kind of thinking about, I was on a mastermind a couple weeks ago, and I think it was Kay Alakanai. He's really awesome if you want to go check him out. Anyways, he had mentioned that there's a difference between motivation and inspiration. Motivation eventually fizzles out. Some days you're motivated, some days you're not. It's not a steady, um, what's the word, trajectory. But inspiration will always stay with you. So I guess going back to what I just said, inspiration is more of like that spark and what stays with you. But I feel like I said, discipline is that vehicle to actually get you to your goals.
Absolutely. It's kind of at least the way that Benjamin Hardy describes willpower is very similar to that. It's like motivation is like a muscle and it eventually, I mean, you can lift to the point where it's depleted, like when you do reps till failure, right? So if you just do that, then once that motivation is gone, like then that's when the whole like everything falls apart. Whereas the discipline is to keep doing that consistently every day instead.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for
I like that. And if you think about like the brain is a very lazy organ. It will like shift off everything it can ever shift off. And so like you think about people like Hormozy who wears the same clothes every single day because he doesn't want to go through the pain of making that decision. It's the same thing with willpower. If you have to force yourself to do something every day, you will not do it for very long or you'll have a miserable life. Your brain's overworked. It's going to offload things to habits. And that kind of reminds me of, James Clear's Atomic Habits, where he's like, you don't rise to your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. And I would say discipline actually falls under systems as well, or they're just kind of related. Like things that you do on a daily, consistent basis that are habits, your brain doesn't have to think about, and you're building excellence without being like the motivational guru that's, oh, come on, wake up, go to the
Yeah,
shower. I run every day at 5 in the morning so that I can get to work. And I hate work, but I show up every day because I love to do hard things and I'm motivated. And then you
right,
get a
right.
bunch of those guys on Instagram and totally useless.
For sure. I don't know if you listened to the last episode you did. I actually referenced habits as well. So like this last episode just nicely flowed into this one, and we're gonna tag that in the comments as well, because if you guys haven't read it, obviously it's a great read. But yeah. The next kind of bullet point I have is just how to create systems that make discipline easier. So what are some things that you guys have done to make having that discipline easier in your life?
For me personally, I just like to keep it simple. A lot of people like to, I think I've said this before in the past, a lot of people like to overcomplicate things, and they try to really get stuck in that analysis paralysis type of deal on what's more efficient and what's better when it's really supposed to be, what's curated best for you, right? And it's all a preference thing. And even then, I think discipline will be built throughout the highs and lows. There will be times where you have to stay disciplined when you're not feeling like it. So it's not always going to be kind of like the dream that motivation sells you, where it's, oh yeah, like get after it, screw however you're feeling right now, just gotta just dive right in. Just sometimes you're gonna feel like, oh, I don't really want to do this right now, and then that's going to be the determining factor whether if it's truly motivation or discipline. So
Yeah,
That's
for
good.
sure.
I like that a lot. Yeah, I think motivation is like framed as the sexier of the two. Everyone's like, oh, motivation. Oh, he's a motivated guy. And your ears perk up and you're like, whoa. You're like, I wish I could be that motivated guy or girl.
right.
Um, and yeah, like I think with starting those systems and getting them in place, it's like the least sexy part is like you're starting ground zero. There's nothing really cool about what you're doing. You're just getting the ball rolling. And like with the 7 habits of highly effective people, I'm gonna reference every habit book I know now that has habit in the title. I'll talk about it. But he says, private victories precede public victories. And I think a lot of times people look to those people and they see all these huge wins and this motivational and, David Goggins, like, oh, go run a marathon.
Gonna bring him up when you were talking earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, it's perfect. We're just bringing in all the people. I love this. So, like, you think about that and it's like, okay, those private victories precede the public ones. Like, you have to be grinding on your own before everyone will see what you do. And Eddie was bringing up something really good is like the analysis by paralysis is definitely a huge factor. I think I've tried to start projects before and I'm like, oh, I need to make sure that this connects to this and then I'm going to make sure it's this. And it's easier to sit and plan than to actually do. And so your brain thinks it like falls into this productivity trap that, oh, I'm getting so much done right now. I spent 40 hours getting work done. And the guy that like started knocking doors or calling people for an hour is already 40 hours ahead of you are. And it's
Yeah,
like, I think of Mel Robbins, like her 5 second rule is just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Just do it.
Yeah,
For sure.
for sure.
absolutely. I can agree with all those things. And I think the very first thing that you do in the morning is the thing that basically sets up the rest of your day. If you are like slow getting out of bed in the morning, start the morning on social media, maybe watching a show or something, like literally, I've seen that completely affect and ruin the rest of my day to the point where it's like, okay, how do you not only set up systems that keep you on that discipline, but then how do you set up boundaries? How do you set up like fail safes? so that like when those things come up, like when that temptation or whatever it may be comes up, you don't fall back into a habit that you're maybe trying to get rid of so that your new system can become the like default in your brain.
Yeah.
Right.
That's good. It's like the greased groove. You got to like get out of it.
Yeah,
It's
exactly.
like when you've ever, if anyone of you guys were like ridden a bike or a dirt bike and there's like a groove in the dirt, it's like trying to get out of it is like super hard because the bike will keep like slipping back in.
Hmm.
So it's actually really got to notice a lot of habits I try and start always fall back to the old ones I had before.
Yeah. And I think that's the comfortability thing as well, right? I think people like to stay comfortable, and that's the human mind, right? The human mind loves comfort, and it'll have to be a point where the habits have to feel uncomfortable, and then feeling uncomfortable will feel comfortable. It's just a weird feeling that you get when you're not doing the habits that you're supposed to be doing that makes you feel uncomfortable. It's kind of hard to explain in words, but I think pushing yourself, you'll push yourself enough times to where not pushing yourself feels uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That's just personally for me. So
Yeah, I used to talk about this a lot on the Maze Pod too, is that your comfort zone isn't something that's static and it stays how it's going to be forever. It's something that you or you eventually grow out of, and there's always growing pains. So whenever you're in that like weird limbo, I feel like I've been in this for the last couple of weeks as well. Like whenever you're in that, you just need to really check in with yourself and realize like this is why I'm feeling this way. It's because I'm doing something that I've never done before. And pretty soon over time as the reps come in, this will be my new normal. It'll be comfortable for me and you'll grow into that new comfort zone. Um, and also, I wanted to backtrack. Going to what Colby said about getting up every single day, that's what really shapes your day. I definitely agree with that. And I used to listen to a lot of The Wellness Cafe by Trinity Tondelier a couple of years ago. And I remember one thing that has really stuck with me is having like a morning moment, like something that gets you excited to get out of bed the next day and just really set you up for the next day. So, yeah, there's my little
Yeah.
I
tip.
love that.
And I feel like we can't talk about morning routines without talking about the most important part of, I think, of any morning routine is when you go to bed. I think it, like with a lot of habits and things like that, it's where you start.
Hmm.
And it's like, I definitely think sleep is probably the most important thing in anyone's life. And
Mhm.
starting, because I mean, you spend a third of your life doing it, it's crazy. Just laying there, just stick
yeah,
straight, just bummed out. But like, yeah, it's just the night before, so I just wanted to throw that in there. I just thought that was important.
I mean, it is super important. James and I were talking, and we were going through everything that I do.
It was really cool, actually.
Because yeah, I mean, I was just super excited. He wanted to focus more on work and other things, and so I got him what I use. It's called Bloom, and it's this like metal card that like you have to tap into your phone in order to unlock it, and there's like no other way around it. And so it's really like it's super strong and just keeping you like disciplined because it's enforcing you to actually like not use your phone. And then we started getting into everything that I do. And one of my things that I do every night before bed that has completely set me up for success is I do like a moment, and it takes maybe 5 minutes. It's called friction removal, and I remove all the friction from my next day tomorrow. So I look at my next day tomorrow. What is the first thing I'm doing when I get up? If I'm working out, then I set out my clothes, I set out my water bottle, my shoes are ready to go. And then as soon as I wake up, my brain automatically goes to putting my shoes on, putting on my workout clothes, and then I'm out the door. And then if it's something else, like I just make sure that my like whole room, everything, every aspect of tomorrow is already set up, ready for me to go right when I wake up in the morning. So that there's no friction in my mind keeping me from doing what I like set out to already do.
These are your fail
Boom.
safes.
Yeah, exactly. They're my
Yeah,
fail safes.
Colby, I got to fanboy for a little bit yesterday, and it was kind of awesome. I really like all of this stuff. And I think with like going back to like motivation as well as systems, is I feel like motivation versus discipline or versus systems is kind of like a big punch versus like consistent effort. And like
Mm,
anybody who knows anything knows that consistency wins 10 times out of 10. And so like the big thing with these systems is like never miss twice. That's another Atomic Habits reference is never miss twice. And so it's like with the journaling and with the friction removal, it's like your first week, you just kind of feel like, okay, well, I'm just bumming around. And then it builds off that. Like the Grand Canyon wasn't carved in a day, neither was Rome built in one day. It's just
Yeah,
small, consistent
exactly.
efforts is what makes really successful people. I mean, you have lottery winners, that does happen,
Yeah.
but I mean, who wants to bank on winning
So
the
rare.
lottery? And you
Well,
could
I mean,
spend a
even
lot
then,
more money losing the
yeah,
lottery than you can winning.
yeah. I mean, even then, I mean, that money goes by quickly for majority
that's
people,
right.
right? So they go back to square
Like,
one. So
That's
I think all
motivation
four of
for
us need to
you.
win the lottery and see how far that goes. I feel like we'd multiply it times 10.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah, no, and I think just with discipline as well, I think it's being super self-aware. I think if you lack self-awareness and you lack kind of what your direction is that you're going in life, I think um I think being self-aware is a good reminder to tell you, hey, I'm aware that I'm slacking. I gotta push myself, or like you said, never miss twice, right? Never miss 2 days. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
for me, like when I work, I try to work every single day, even when the days, like, for example, I had my wisdom teeth removed, and like after like 2 to 3 days of me just resting, I had to get on the phones. I had to like really like bust out all of this work that was, I guess like lacking behind. A lot of people would just stop there, but it just shows a lot about someone's identity. It has a lot to do with self-identity and self-awareness as a whole. So I think that correlates somewhat.
It's
So,
crazy that you say that because the next bullet point is literally examples of how consistency rewires your identity.
oh,
So
cool.
you just totally nailed that on the head so fast.
Colby, what are your thoughts on that? Next question.
Say that again, Eddie.
What are your thoughts on just the next question, just with what Maisie just said about identity?
How consistency. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I was thinking about just barely. Like, like, one, where I'm at today, I could not have predicted like a year ago, 6 months ago. Like, it's completely different than what I even imagined. Um, so one, like being consistent with something, I mean, you don't know who you're going to become, but you just set out to have a vision and you will become something like incredible as long as you stick with it. I think often of what people call overnight successes, and there's no such thing as an overnight success, period. Like I even like even looking at I'm sure most people don't even know this, but YouTube was actually a dating site before it is what it is today.
Oh, I
Like
did not know.
But
it's
Evogen
crazy.
looking for a wife.
And that's the thing. So the whole idea was to have people like share videos, like talking about who they are and talking about who they like want to be with, and then like having them meet like the person like on a video. It's like Tinder but like video version. But
Surprised that didn't sell.
right?
No.
Well, that's the thing is like I mean that was the first original idea, and the thing is they kept with like YouTube, and then they eventually scrapped that like idea, but they kept all the same system and everything, and then they just changed like what it was for, and then like slowly it just started getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and now it's like the most massive thing ever. But most people would look at YouTube and think, oh, it's an overnight success, but like that's not the case. Like they actually like went through a very long trial period of trying to get something else to work. And so it's just sticking with something even when you don't know what that thing is going to be in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think,
Unfortunately, oh, sorry, go ahead, James.
oh, I'm gonna cut off your unfortunate. Yeah, I think like on a personal level too. I mean, not just like business identity, but like personal identity. Aristotle actually said something almost identical in his own time is like, we are the sum total of all of our habits. Like our decisions and our acts make up who we are.
Yeah,
And
for
so I
sure.
think that most definitely goes with, consistency
Hmm.
and
I
like keeping your word to yourself.
For sure. And I was just gonna say, unfortunately, people don't care about who you are until you have the results. So you've just got to really stay with yourself and care that you're making that progress. even when nobody else is watching. You've just got to remember I'm doing this for this long-term vision, and this is what's going to happen as I stay consistent and stick with myself. Um, and then the people will start showing up. And I think that's really like the biggest thing, like with YouTube, people thinking like it was an overnight success because nobody cares. Nobody cares what YouTube was before because they didn't have results. They weren't successful, but now they do. And I feel like that's a trend with so many different entrepreneurs and success stories that we've heard in the past as well.
Right. I don't know, like, I mean, just kind of like off subject, but also like I don't know about you guys, but like when I started posting and like traveling and everything, the amount of people that come out of the woodworks and message you out of nowhere, suddenly like wanting something is like it's absurd. It's crazy.
Yeah.
They didn't want you when you were, you know, Maisie or Colby or Eddie or James building whatever you're building, but now they want that person who built this empire, and it's like
Yeah.
okay, well,
Like they didn't care about the digital marketing, Colby. They
all
cared about
right.
the Taylor proactive version of Colby.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
I was gonna say something and then I lost it along those lines.
Yeah. Well, I have another, I guess, question for the group, like with terms of like, consistency and discipline, is where do you draw the line and where do you find like self-compassion and like reset time, if you will? Because if you go like too far into the discipline, you turn into David Goggins. The guy can't relax. He can't sit down, right? Like
Sure.
he runs like I think a
Crazy.
million miles a day. So where do you draw the line of like, okay, I know I need to be consistent and be disciplined in what I do, but also there's only so much that I can do as a person. Where do you draw
Mm.
that line? Where do you guys think that is?
I think that goes back a lot to the self-awareness and being really aware and in tune with yourself because it's going to be different for every single person. For me, I know when I start getting burnt out is when I start shutting down, I start quitting things, I make excuses. And so when I start getting to that point, I've gone I've like learned to take a step back, take a breather. If I need to take a break from whatever it is that's burning me out, that's usually when I determine that. But I feel like not everyone else is gonna have those same tells and those same points that they're like some people can push themselves harder than me, or some people might not be able to push themselves as hard as I can, if that makes sense.
Right.
Right. For
How do you
me
make
personally, the way I view it is I like to listen to myself and kind of like with the self-awareness, it all ties back to that. Sometimes when I give myself a break, I am also self-aware of the amount of like time that I have spent on my break. And I kind of like ask, okay, well, I've been taking a break now for about an hour, hour and a half, right? Or maybe even 2 hours. And how am I feeling now? Am I ready to get back into it, or do I still need to give myself some more time? But at the end of the day, I will get back into it because I don't want to fall into the trap of staying comfortable, right? I mean,
Hmm.
I guess you could say, you can be comfortable, you can give yourself a balance, but never be satisfied with that comfortability because from there you'll stay stagnant for the rest of your for the rest of your life.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Never be too comfortable with that comfortability. That's really cool.
Absolutely. Honestly, I think for me, it's like pretty much the reason why like this community Evogen matters and why like friends like James and you guys matter because it's not when I am like I typically will not realize it. I won't realize that I'm like crossing a boundary that is like harming like any like kind of productivity or anything. I don't realize it until I'm talking to somebody and I either hear them like reflect it back to me or I hear it as I'm like vocalizing it and making it known to others. So I think one thing is super important is that it takes one people that like you can be 100% transparent to and talk with, and then two to have them be like 100% honest with you and like not really hold back any feedback that they would have for you.
Hmm.
That's good. I like community. I think
Hmm.
completely forgot about. I think that makes discipline 1 million times easier is like community. Like having like a real accountability partner, but like
Mm.
someone that you're like actively with makes all the difference in the world. Like when it comes to doing homework, like I'm newly married, and so my wife also has homework. We're both in school. And I've never been good at homework. I've never really done it. I always just procrastinate and somehow pass the class, barely. But like one thing I've noticed is like if I sit down with my wife and we're like, okay, we're gonna do homework, I'll sit down and do all my homework. Like I'll just sit down and grind it because I'm like, okay, well, she's doing her stuff and she could be on Pinterest or Reels and I wouldn't know. We have our computer set up like Battleship, so we never know what the other person's doing. So I could just be, watching YouTube videos. But I think the accountability makes a huge difference. Like that's the biggest thing is like if you have a group of people that are all, focused on the same thing, I think it makes it a lot more durable. Like you can go faster by yourself, but you go further with friends and family.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The road should never feel lonely 100% of the time, right? Especially with being successful, right? I mean, I'm in an industry where you can't make it all alone, right? You'll need people to be around, to source, to utilize in order to find success in that. And I think with community, that also shapes your identity. That will shape who you are, who you hang around with, is going to be eventually who you become. So I think that's another
Right.
thing to emphasize on that.
Yeah.
Like the best example I can think of is in the like the most tangible example, I guess, is in the inner circle. There's in Russell Brunson's inner circle in the mastermind, there's a lady and her whole business is and I don't exactly understand each mechanics and all the pieces of it, but basically, I mean, they sell done for you businesses to people for like 250K plus. And they still have to do work, of course, but I mean, the ADHD entrepreneur like has such a hard time sitting down and doing that work. When they started seeing all their students have success and start making $1 million plus on these businesses that were built for them, the the way that they achieved it was they set up Zoom calls and like you could be basically the students could become authorized to host a Zoom call after doing like some specific training. But on these Zoom calls, all they do is they each get on the Zoom call at the specific time. They say what they're going to work on, each of them, and then they go off. Like they just go on mute for an hour or 2 hours, and then they work on that one thing, and then they all come back, and then they report on what their progress was. And then they maybe talk about if they had any issues and how to get around them, and then they do the same thing again. And that is like when they started making huge progress.
Rinse
Yeah.
and repeat.
Yeah.
I think that's really what makes Evogen different as well. And because nobody's a self-made millionaire, no one's a um, self-made successful person. Even like Eddie said, he's in an industry where you need a team or you need connections. I feel like every single industry, any single successful person you have has a whole network of mentors and a power team that they've learned from and based their ideas off of and just got started with. And that's what Evogen really is. Like that's what we're here to do is we're all in this together. None of us are some huge success yet, but we're all here together holding each other accountable and making sure that we all achieve our goals. And so yeah.
Yeah. And another thing too is that uh, with the community, we're always trying to make it as welcoming as possible. We're not trying to make anyone feel like they're an oddball. So I know how intimidating it is because I used to be in that role where it was my first time ever going to a event. So I'm like, oh shoot, like what are they going to think about me? Or maybe I'm just not experienced enough to even be in a room filled with these people, whether if they have experience or not. So yeah, that overall, just again, don't feel intimidated. Just put yourself out there. Just wanted to throw that out as kind of off topic, but yeah,
Like the number
Imposter
one
syndrome is a
thing.
real thing. Sorry, go ahead, Colby.
Oh, I was just saying the number one thing is if you're the biggest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. I prefer to be the smallest person in the room and gathering all the information and knowledge that the other people have. That's just a
yeah,
personal take.
absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Do you have anything to add, James?
I think it'd be cool to be the big fish. I'd sure love to be the big fish, but there's always a bigger fish. Yeah, I definitely think imposter syndrome exists. entirely in new groups. Like my job, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I work in the merger and acquisition space, and before this job, I knew nothing about it. Probably zero. I didn't know what IPO meant until like my third day working. I had to ask him, I was like, what is IPO? I think it was you. And you're like, it's initial public offering. I was like, okay. Just like write that down. And then like, a week later, we have this giant conference, which is like the Super Bowl of what we do. And I think part of it's just like being humble. I mean, I think the most humble guys have and girls have the most fun and just I don't know, just learning from people. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's a good
Yeah.
experience. I think sometimes I would also reframe as like you don't want to also be it's okay to be the smallest person in the room, but don't count yourself out. Everyone can contribute something.
Hmm.
Like
Mhm.
there's something you know or understand that people don't. And I think it's important that like in every space that you're in to have the abundance mentality and not like take, 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 take. Okay, information, information. How can you help? How can you help? But like, how can I give? I'm
Yeah.
in a room full of people that all know more than me. What do I have that they don't? In this particular room, it was, youth. I was like, well, suck it. You guys would all pay anything you could to be 21 again. Um, and so I think the big thing is like learning how you can contribute because everybody has something that they can give.
Mhm.
And, everybody has something they can learn.
Hmm.
And I think that's the way that the best societies have ever worked is just people share and people give. Yeah, I was just gonna say like imposter syndrome, it's a real thing, but I don't know. I think it just comes with time. I mean, I think everybody feels imposter syndrome a decent amount of the time. But I think, fake it till you make it. I mean, I pretend like I know what I'm doing at my job, and in reality, I have zero clue. I'm talking to people that are like 10 times more qualified in the field that I should be like selling in. And just you sound confident and you just say some stuff and you just hope it sticks.
Yeah.
But I think it's how you say it. You just got to know, okay, you know what? I'm not expert in this. And being able to like double back if you're wrong or like, oh, yeah, today's my first day. I have no idea what I'm doing. That kind of a thing I think goes a long way with imposter syndrome, but
I think that's the
as
only
much
way
as I
to
know.
overcome it is to just fake it till you make it and put on that put on that face even when it's hard. Just show up for yourself and yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, that just reminds me of
Yeah, go
probably
ahead.
my favorite Vincent van Gogh quote. And that is, you should back yourself at the start of a journey or you should always back yourself at the start of a journey because wheat is still wheat, even if in the beginning it's grass. So, like in the beginning of all of our journeys, like you got to back yourself like you're wheat, like you're the end game. But it's
Mm,
still wheat, it's just growing. And so I think I love that quote, especially with
that's
like
good.
imposter syndrome. I just had to interrupt
Yeah.
to throw that in there before I forgot it. But like with
Nice.
imposter syndrome, like I think it's very much real. Like sometimes people think you need to have all these qualifications or you have to be someone to do something. But in reality, it's like, end of your life, you're gonna have some serious experience, right? So why not
Yeah.
back yourself now? You are that person still.
I think it's also important to remember that anyone who will have anything to say contrary to what you're doing, it's safe to say that they're not doing anything at all. They are sitting on the sidelines and they're just watching, and they're not in the arena itself. They're just trying to shout at you and say what you should be doing when they've never been in the arena at all. And those people who are in the arena and who you are talking to and working with, like they'll understand where you're coming from because they started from the same spot. So like James here in the merger and acquisition space, they all know when they started and they have the confidence and ability to help lift him up. Whereas anyone else outside of that, they can say whatever the heck they want to. Same with me in taxes and everything. They can say whatever the heck they want to, but they've never been where I've been. They're not even in the arena. They're not even fighting. So it's like who gives a crap what they say? It's not accurate.
Absolutely.
Have you
Absolutely.
have you guys ever heard the quote by Theodore Roosevelt about the man in the arena?
Think so. I've heard it maybe once. You'd have to repeat it for
Yeah.
me.
I mean, it's a long quote. I don't have it memorized. My brother does, but this is homework. Is go look it up. But basically, Theodore Roosevelt says the credit belongs to the man in the arena, the man who's like actually fighting his fight. and the one that's, the critic is not the one who counts. He's not the one who's in the arena. So I have the full quote pulled up via Colby. It's so good. So it says, "It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end of the triumph of a high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat." It's like gives me goosebumps. I
Awesome.
freaking love
I
that
love this
quote.
one. It's a good one.
I think just with kind of like with the outsider perspective of what they think about your journey and what you're trying to head towards in life, I think that's also a mirror of themselves. So just take it with a small pinch of salt whenever someone downplays on your journey or wherever whatever it is that you're trying to go after in life. So
All right, well, thanks for coming on, James. Thanks for everyone for listening. By this time, we've already had our Evogen event. We're speaking to the future right now because we're pre-recording this. So hopefully our launch event went great. We're going to be having more updates for future events soon, so stay tuned.